Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. So I'm going to talk about Jordan Peterson, who is a psychologist that I used to teach at Harvard, that also then taught at Toronto, and now has really catapulted himself to incredible stardom here over the last 3 or 4 years. 2016 has really started to gain momentum, and his stuff is just really dominating the industry in terms of YouTube and other social media. His lectures are available online and things like that. But so I I was given an opportunity by a partner of mine, Daniel Mazer, that he sent me the thing for the Big Five Aspect Scale in terms of being able to determine what my personality profile is based on Dr. Peterson's five five aspects of personalities. And so, of course, there's actually a lot more dimensions. Some of these have subcategories and things like that. So, but I thought I'd share my results. Now, these are available on my Instagram. I posted my results in all the various categories, and you're welcome to take a look at them there. But I'm going to go ahead and read them just to kind of put them in video form. Now, Dr. Peterson has been ill recently, and he's certainly been the subject of numerous attacks and in terms of just being vilified by certain media and things like that. I'm not going to really kind of discuss that. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal intellectual. I've not really seen another intellectual since William F. Buckley that has been as really impressive as Jordan B. Peterson is. But I think the world of William F. Buckley, but I think that Jordan Peterson has an intellectual capacity to understand the human condition that has given me a great deal of insight into my own situation. And since I'm a student of human behavior, my PhD work is in human factors engineering, it's given me a real respect for his findings. And, you kind of have to nod your head north-south on a lot of his stuff where it's like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And so it is one of the things that, as you'll see here in a minute, got me to change my Myers-Briggs score. And I'm going to take the Myers-Briggs test again here in a little while. But I think the results are kind of worth sharing. So agreeableness. I'm in the 32nd percentile, which is, generally regarded as, let's see. I don't see the individual one there. Let's see. Agreeableness is moderately low. And so, that puts me in the sort of not so agreeable category. Well, I'm agreeable enough. I'm about a third agreeable, but 2/3 disagreeable. Now, disagreeable people tend to fight for their opinions, and they also tend to demand more out of other people and from the world. And agreeable people, people that are too agreeable, end up, getting run over by society and life, and they make less, and they end up in situations where other people take advantage of them. So basically, the score means is that I'm not completely unagreeable. I mean, I don't want to be disagreeable, but I am more disagreeable than agreeable. So therefore, I'm going to, be agreeable up to a point, and then I can be considerably disagreeable. And I think that's a pretty good insight. I would definitely consider that to be correct. Compassion. I'm in the 61st percentile. So like my third for agreeableness versus disagreeableness, compassion is 61%, and that's sort of moderately high. Well, and that's because I think over the years, especially since turning 50, I have become more compassionate about the situation other people find themselves in. For instance, I'll give you an example. So I have stopped referring to low-income neighborhoods as the hood, only because I realized that those people would prefer to live somewhere else. They would prefer to be able to afford to live in really nice neighborhoods. They don't live there because they want to. They live there because that's the only place they can afford. And because affordable housing and a decent environment to grow up in is not always available to everybody. And so I have a great deal of compassion for their situation. And so for me, I'm beginning to be more compassionate. So, not to the point where I'm all the way over to the other end, because then you become a pushover for, just about everything. So, but my level of compassion has gone from, I would say, below half to probably, the 2/3 mark. And that's probably about as high as it's going to go. I mean, I don't think I'm going to end up maxing out the compassion meter, but it's important to know that why that's that way. Politeness. So politeness is low at 12%. So I'm in the 12th percentile. So this video brought to you by a red Solo cup full of ice water. Politeness is no surprise here. Now, I am rude to the point. I'm brutally honest to the point of being rude in some cases. I will tell it like it is. I will not pull any punches. I'm not interested in giving everybody a warm hug. I think the world is a brutal place, and I think that it can chew people up and spit people out who are too polite. And I think political correctness is a disease, and I would like to find a way to eradicate it from the planet. But unfortunately, we live in a polite society, and in civilized society, politeness is often a requirement. As you can tell, I'm only in the 12th percentile, so I could give a fuck less about politeness, but I'm polite enough when I need to be, and so that I don't end up being restrained by air marshals on every flight based on, my fellow passengers' behavior, so I'm allowed at least a little bit of politeness. So conscientiousness. So I'm in the 80th percentile, which is high. Now, conscientious people work hard and they're typically more successful than other people. And I think that Dr. Peterson's work on this is really right on target. I mean, really the key element of success comes down to how hard you work, certainly assuming that you have some skill and talent and you're working in the right direction and things like that. But conscientiousness really is a matter of working hard to try to achieve something. And I really believe that. I mean, I think that that's really a key indicator of success. And I'm at the 80th percentile, so that's very high, or high. The next one is industriousness. So industriousness is, talking about, it has to do with intelligence and it has to do with organization and things like that. And I'm at the 77th percentile, which is high. And I think that's about right. I mean, I have to be, I'm fairly disorganized in some areas, but in terms of industriousness, I mean, I can sit down and get work done and work for hours. I can work 12, 15, 20 hours at a time and not get up and stay focused on what I'm doing and get stuff done. I mean, obviously, if you can't execute, then you're just not going to survive in this world. And industriousness is a good indicator of success, along with conscientiousness. So if you want to do well in terms of conscientiousness and you're going to work hard and you have high industriousness like I do, which means you're going to be very productive during that time, then I think that those are key elements of success. And I would agree with Dr. Peterson's assessment on that. So orderliness, I am at the 76th percentile, which is moderately high, dropping by 1 point from 77, which would have been high. But so orderliness is important. My mom used to refer to me liking things very oriented, very using a grid, very gridular, as she used to call it. And I like things lined up, and I like my OCD, my obsessive compulsive disorder, requires that things be orderly in some way. So again, about the 3/4 mark. I mean, that whole 1/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/4 kind of mark is really kind of the benchmark for that. So I think orderliness is an important part. For me, it's almost a compulsion or obsession. So, um, extroversion. So, you know, I have I have reported on a number of occasions in my answers on Quora and other things I posted that for the longest time I have been an INTJ, an introvert, and in my Myers-Briggs test. Now, I will disclose that I took the Myers-Briggs test, I would say about a year ago, and it said that I was an ENTJ, an extrovert. And I was like, I've been an INTJ. I hate people. And so it was interesting because I didn't fully appreciate this until Daniel Mazer, a partner of mine on things, made an observation, and it's the reason I'm actually doing the whole video on the results. I mean, he's the one who paid for me to take the test, paid the $10 or whatever, and so uh, for extroversion, I'm at the 99th percentile in Dr. Peterson's test. So, but Daniel made the observation. I was like, man, I cannot be an extrovert. I fucking hate people. I mean, I would rather sit home and, not have to interact with people. And so Daniel said the other night, he goes, dude, you're not an introvert. He goes, you're an extrovert. He goes, you love people. You just have standards. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, you have standards. I mean, you don't want to waste time on useless people. And so I was like, that's funny, because that actually I could actually get behind that assertion. And he's right. I mean, I actually do enjoy. I derive a great deal of pleasure from super intelligent people and people that provide a number of different quality components that I either admire or respect, and so intelligence is super high for me, and so. And of course, everybody likes really attractive people anyway. But really attractive people that are really smart and things like that are always always welcome. So, but I think it's interesting. I mean, I really do that because of my IQ score and things like that being fairly high. I've had a low tolerance for people who fall below a certain IQ score, and I've written about this before, and Jordan Peterson doesn't believe that IQ tests are a very good indicator of intelligence anyway, and he has some other things that he thinks these things play more of a role, and I'm not going to disagree with him, because frankly I don't have the intellectual capacity to spar with Jordan Peterson on that topic, so I'm not going to try, but I do feel that really intelligent alpha males and really intelligent alpha females, which is my new favorite category. I mean, there are really alpha females out there that I'm really genuinely impressed by and have a great deal of respect for. So it's an interesting situation. But so in terms of my extroversion, I actually enjoy spending time with those people. I could spend time with those people for hours. I mean, I've had dinner with people that I have a great deal of respect for, and we've had dinner for like 4 hours. And, I love that. I mean, it's a great time. So I guess I'll have to suffer through with the idea that I'm actually an extrovert. And, such is life. But anyway, so the next dimension is enthusiasm. And I score very high in enthusiasm, and I score in the 95th percentile. So I have had an almost, religious level of enthusiasm for stuff. I'm excited about, I get up every day, glad to do the stuff that I'm doing, glad to be working with the people I'm working with, grateful for the opportunity that I've had, looking forward to the next person who books a call, that I get to talk with them about what's important to them and things like that. I love that. It's incredible. So I have a great deal of enthusiasm for people who are on their way up through the process. They've started their journey, and they're looking for guidance to avoid some of the same mistakes and to help improve their chances of success. I love that. I think it's great. So, but anyway, so I'm at the 95th percentile for enthusiasm. Uh, and I score exceptionally high, the 99th percentile on assertiveness. I mean, I've learned this over the years, but I will talk to anyone at any time for any reason. I will go up to people and start a conversation with them, people I don't know and in terms of asserting my own rights and things like that in a situation, I'm not afraid to, challenge whatever the status quo is in order to be able to assert my own needs or rights or those from my friends or family and things like that. So 99th percentile assertiveness should be no surprise to anybody. The next category is neuroticism. So I am not neurotic about anything. So of course I score very low on that at the 6th percentile. So I think it's important to understand just how important neuroticism is. It's responsible for a significant amount of the failure in people's careers and in their lives. And they obsess about things that are wrong. They focus on the wrong things. And so neuroticism can become your downfall. And I'm so grateful that I scored very low in that. Withdrawal. And this is like, doubt, worry, embarrassment, things like that. And I score exceptionally low in 1%. So I don't give a shit. I mean, I would walk around naked, as fat as I am, if it wouldn't scare small school children. I mean, I have no issue with the fact that I am confident in myself and everything else. The reality, and there's just one example, but the reality is that I don't care what you say or what you think or what you write or whatever about me. You're entitled to your opinion. What you say or what you think has no bearing on me whatsoever. I could care less. And so I'm not self-conscious. I don't get embarrassed. I don't worry about shit. I have no doubt. And so I erased all that stuff from my vocabulary years ago. I would never have been able to, do what I've done over the last 26 years without removing all of that early on in the process. So I don't subscribe to any of that. So 1%. So volatility is the next one, and I'm in the 34th percentile. So I'm down near the low end. So I'm not terribly volatile. But it's moderately low at 34%. It probably would have been low at 33%, just a 1 point difference. That's, it's easy to get me riled up and things like that. So I try not to let things like that bother me, but there are some instances where people will push the right buttons and, it'll result in, it getting to me, but it's rare, that I end up going off on somebody, but it's at the 34th percentile. So, and so the next one is openness to experience. Now, Dr. Peterson describes openness as the root indicator for creativity, and I score in the 95th percentile, very high. And I think that I am open to anything. I mean, I've always had an open door policy. If you want to book a meeting or book a call, you can go on my website at gordonmiller.com/book-online. And, you can book a session. I will take any meeting that gets scheduled. And, I will talk to you for an hour about whatever it is you want to talk about. We can exchange, recipes if you want. I don't really care. All I care about is the fact that you took enough initiative to do something, that you feel strongly enough about whatever it is you want to talk for an hour about to pay and book a session. And I'll talk to you about anything. And I'm open to opportunities. I mean, I've helped dozens of entrepreneurs in the mentorship activities that I do now, build towards what they're doing. And we've continued to book sessions with folks and continue to move in the right direction. And it's about this openness to things that, I'm open to all possibilities and things like that. I don't get up in the morning with a specific idea about how my day is going to go. So I'm never disappointed. I'm always grateful for the way my day goes. And I'm also, I'm also really focused on trying to make sure that I help the right people get to where they want to be. That's what I enjoy. So, in terms of intellect, intellect is obviously like the intelligence and, issue-oriented discussions and things like that. My ability to hold intellectual conversations and things like that. So, intellect is very high at 94%. So I'm in the 94th percentile. So that puts me way at the end of the spectrum in terms of intellectuals. And given my high IQ and the assertiveness and a bunch of the other stuff like that, that's really not any surprise. So then there's general openness, as opposed to the one that we had before, which was openness to experience, which I'm open for whatever experience there might be in life. But openness itself is part of that creativity and just just that. So I'm at 87th percentile, which ends up being high, and so high score for that, and it's an important component. And that's it. I mean, those are the dimensions. I think there's like 10 of them overall, but I'm really a huge fan of Dr. Peterson's. I've made the offer in one of the follow-up posts on something he posted that I would love to buy him dinner sometime. I know he's a busy guy, and he's right now, I believe he's in Russia with his family. His daughter posted on his behalf here recently, and so he has not been well, and I wish him all the best. I wish him a speedy recovery, and I know based on his daughter's comments that he was having a problem with anxiety, and some of the medications that he was on was producing a seriously negative effect, and where it has the opposite effect of what it was intended. And it happens to some people. And unfortunately, my best friend was one of those people, and he ended up committing suicide back in 2012. And those medications can create those situations which you have to be monitored closely by friends and family. And so I hope he finds a medication that works for him, and I hope that he can process and deal with all the things that it's confronting him. He was vilified for his position on gender identity issues and stuff like that, which I'm not going to get into. I happen to share his perspective on gender identity in terms of, you either have XY or XX chromosomes, and that's your biology. But I do understand and I appreciate that people may identify with different genders, and that could be anywhere from, a change in the biology or brain chemistry to, in a situation where it's either an experiential or nature versus nurture kind of argument. And I'm not going to get into that. I mean, I don't think it's important. I mean, I don't think that there's any guidelines on who you should love and or who you should be sexually attracted to. I don't think that that's anybody's business. I think they should make single restrooms so that it doesn't matter what gender you identify with. You can go into a restroom by yourself. And given the fact that my master's degree is in architecture, group restrooms have had serious problems for the longest time anyway. I don't think that it's in the best interest of safety of children and a bunch of other things. So I would recommend individual restrooms with locking doors that, it doesn't matter what gender you are. And so I really think that there's some work to be done on this type of thing. And I think that based on, Dr. Peterson's a scientist, and he is a psychologist, and he is a philosopher in a lot of ways too, helping to decode some of the philosophers of the last 2,000-3,000 years. And I admire his work, and I respect the body of work overall. And I also respect the fact that he's right from his perspective, that as a scientist, it's convenient to be able to determine, XX or XY chromosomes and be either male or female. But I also, because of my my 34% or whatever in compassion, I have just enough compassion to also understand that those gender identity issues are more difficult for people than just simple binary decisions. And so I don't think that's an issue. I'm not gonna begrudge anybody their identity, or who they want to engage in sexual activity with, or anything like that. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm the last person to judge anybody on that. So, but anyway, I wish Dr. Jordan B. Peterson all the best. I will. I would link to some of his stuff. I'll link to his channel, but there are dozens of other channels that carry his content, and it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, I know Dr. Peterson has a couple of great books, and the 12 Rules for Life is the new book, and there's some great stuff out there by him. I've probably consumed over 100 hours of his content already, and I'm just a huge fan. I've sort of been binge watching him. So it's an opportunity, I think, for people to become aware of his work. I think his work on men and women and their interactions, as well as his work on religion and things like that, are all really very powerful, and I think they have some tremendous value, and I think they contribute to the overall better understanding at a number of different levels. So, Jordan, I hope you get better, and not that there's a chance you'll probably see this, but I would like to. I'll fly to anywhere in the world you are. I mean, if you're in Russia, then I'll fly to Russia. But I would love to, have a couple of hours of your time and buy you dinner, and would love to. As if you can stand me for a couple hours. I mean, I don't know. You may have a low tolerance for people with my low IQ, but I certainly appreciate all the work you've done. And even if I never get a chance to meet you in person, I will continue to extol the virtues of the large body of work that you have. I'm grateful for the insights that your test has provided me, and I want to thank Daniel Mazer for sponsoring my test. And I figured, since I didn't pay for it, it might as well at least publish it and give people the benefit of that. And I will also publish a link to the test itself, so that if anybody's interested, they can take the test themselves. All right. Thanks a lot, YouTube. Appreciate it.